Hello and welcome to the All Things Horror podcast with me, Amazon best-selling horror author and horror fanatic, Rick Wood, where me and my guests discuss all things horror. Coming up on today's show.
I'd lie in bed and hear what sounded like clomping work boots upstairs. I woke up one night to find what can only be described as an apparition. And she's absolutely without doubt. She sent me photographs of things that just blow my mind. She hacked her to death on the steps, put her body in the boot, and left the body in the boot out there for weeks until the snow thawed.
That leads us to the last horror question then. Real life horror experiences.
Yes, I've had a few.
Tell us about them. All
right, well, one of them was in a house I moved into in Grindleford, which was an old mill. So okay. People think it was the mill in Father of Lies, Tannersdale, but it wasn't. But there were some experiences there where I'd lie in bed and hear what sounded like clomping work boots upstairs, just clomping up and down, up and down, up and down. It would always be about 8 o'clock in the morning. My husband had gone to work at least an hour ago, and I could hear those boots clomping around. And one night, the curtain rails started shaking, the rings on the curtain. There's nothing to explain it. You get a sudden overwhelming feeling of cigarette smoke. It just felt like a presence there. Didn't always feel frightened, except one night, and it suddenly felt extremely oppressive. And I wanted to get out, and I actually went outside and just stood outside for a bit. But the worst one was when I lived down in Dorset. I woke up one night to find what can only be described as an apparition sitting on the side of the bed, and he was wearing a black Victorian dress, all black. He had a black.
He was wearing a dress.
No, black. I mean, dressed, not.
Oh right, okay. I thought you meant he was wearing a dress. Okay.
No, I mean garments, black Victorian. He was dressed in a black Victorian suit. Yes, okay. Right up to the neck, like a priest. And he had very white hair with a widow's peak in the middle, really, really white, and very pale blue eyes. And he was really, really pale. I can still see him to this day. And he was just sitting on the side of the bed, and I thought, no, it's a dream. So I shut my eyes again, I opened them again, he was still there. And then I thought, no, this isn't happening, go away. It was horrible. Sorry. It was absolutely horrible. When the kitchen was dug into, we found a bottle deep in the foundations of the house. Yeah. And the house had been built by a priest, or commissioned by a priest. His name was Thomas. Now, the girl I was telling you about earlier, who I said was clairvoyant, she told me before that what his name was. So, yeah, I've had a few odd experiences.
What I find interesting is how ghosts, when people see them, always dressed in Victorian clothes. Are there no kind of recent ghosts, wearing a suit or something? I
don't know. But it's what I saw.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'd say he was a priest, and it did look Victorian. It could have been earlier.
When you researched, you found out his name was Thomas. Did you find anything else about him?
No. There was inside the bottle. There was a newspaper, one of the huge broadsheets, and there was also a sort of declaration to say that they wanted to build that house, and it said things like, "We must all arise at once and build with blah blah blah," and it was dated and it was signed by him, so he had commissioned the building of that Methodist chapel, which was a Methodist chapel.
Wow. And it's strange that it happens to you more than once then, that in one house then another house.
I've had a few. There's another one, and it's really, really odd, and it does sound daft, and I know people listening might even laugh about it, but I had a lovely little dog who died, and I was thinking of the dog, and suddenly all the lights started flashing on and off. I can't explain why.
Okay.
Just had things like that. I've had all sorts of things like that.
Oh, so I had something like that. Obviously, before we started recording, I let you know that I'm an atheist and don't particularly believe it. I just wish that I had something that could convince me so much.
Well, how do you explain, for example, I mean, I'm veering sort of quite quickly now away from exorcisms and demonology, and I'm going further into sort of black arts and witchcraft, and the book I'm doing now is looking much more at that with the help of a real traditional witch. But I've always been drawn to sort of exploring more and more about what they do, why they do it, what results they get, and it's quite incredible. For example, how would you explain that if you do something like the tarot cards, which I do, just for myself, I'll do the tarot cards, I'll get 3 cards, they make absolute sense to me. I'll shuffle them madly, over and over and over again for at least 2-3 minutes, cut them, I'll draw the same 3. Seriously, I did it the other night, and then I did it again. I thought, no, it's just this. It couldn't possibly be. They're just cards, I'll deal blah blah. I do it again. I get the same 3 cards, and I've bounced that off my witch, my friend witch, Raven, and she's absolutely without doubt. She sent me photographs of things that just blow my mind. So,
do you actually want me to answer that? What I say? Well, God, I don't want to get into a debate about it. But my answer would be that I can't explain it. But I'm happy that it can't be explained and that I just don't understand it. I'm aware, I'm accepting that there might be a reason, but I don't know what that reason is. And I think if I can't explain something, it doesn't mean it's something else. It just means I can't explain it, and obviously we might not know what the reason is.
And you're happy to stop there?
I wish that I could find out the reason, but I'm not going to believe in a reason being there just because it's offered to me.
It's when you start to read more. If you really go down that route, like I said, I've done a lot of reading now into witchcraft, into black witchcraft, into traditional witchcraft in particular. When you really start reading into it, you realise that is what the fascination is. It is having a look at the other side. It is actually having a look at the spiritual side and coming back again. The risk is insanity, of course, because you play with that. But it is fascinating. I know you're moth to a flame, really, but it's fascinating stuff, and that's what they want to do.
Yeah. See, I wish that I could believe in like an afterlife, because when you don't believe in heaven, you believe when you're dead, you're dead. It's quite morbid to think about it.
Isn't it nicer to believe? I choose to believe. I think it's much nicer.
It's nicer, but I can't choose to believe something that really inside I just don't believe in.
Oh God, I do. I do.
It's a nice thing to believe in. So you've based quite a few of your books on these different places. You've got The Soprano as well, that was set in the Staffordshire Moors.
Yes.
What happened there?
Well, Staffordshire Moorlands, where all my family come from. Mum and dad on both sides, and all my grandparents. So as kids, we used to go there. Me and my brother used to go there every 2 weeks. So I feel like I know it really, really, really well. It's kind of where my roots are. There was a story there. My mother's second cousin, twice removed or something, I don't know. But there's a story there of a soprano. She was quite a local celebrity, and she was having an affair with a married man, and met his wife one night, and this is in the absolute depths of winter, and right up there on the moors, when you got snowed in, you got really snowed in. I mean, several feet of snow. So they were really locked in for weeks. And it's very high up, very wild moorland. She met this man's wife at the beginning of the snowstorm, and the wife disappeared. His wife disappeared. It was weeks later, when the thaw set in, that somebody found a car, the rooftop car, at a building called Malcop, which is like, it was a rich man's folly, but it looks like a castle if you look at it from the distance. And she had driven her all the way up there, killed her. She hacked her to death on the steps, put her body in the boot, and left the body in the boot up there for weeks until the snow thawed. But the interesting thing is, she was tiny. She was wearing a full-length fur coat and stiletto heels, and she walked all the way back across that moorland, which is about 3 miles, in a blizzard and several feet deep of snow, with bogs underneath her, and it's mining country as well. She walked all the way back like that through the night, and one person saw her, and it was a shepherd, and the shepherd hut up there, and he saw her, and thought, obviously, very unusual.
Wow.
And she'd left the woman up there in her own car in the boot.
So is that what the book's about then?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
Are all of your books kind of based on these real life things that you've researched?
No, but they'd be inspired. So it was inspired by that, but actually it's not so much about that as the feuding families and the rather evil matriarch at the top of it, who was a black witch. And she, it basically brings that together. So the crime is part of it, but actually most of it is the evil sort of vendetta between two families and how that pans out.
Interesting. And The Owlmen as well is another one of your books. If I'm honest, I see it everywhere I look. And I on Amazon, and I also target a lot of my advertising kind of against you, I'll be honest with you. So I target it a lot. What's The Owlmen about?
The Owlmen is in the same village as the Father of Lies trilogy.
Okay.
But the old mill where all the evil happened is bought by a London couple for renovation, for a lovely sort of retreat. So this girl, this poor girl Ellie, she's had a bit of a nervous breakdown. She's a medical rep, so I'm surprised there. She's had a bit of a nervous breakdown. They're redoing the mill, trying to make it all lovely and swish, and she finds herself following a path of witchcraft in a village that is absolutely black with its terrible history, and of course it's still going on. There's a legacy there, so she comes very much into contact with the demonic. At the same time, she's trying to become practice the dark arts. So she's actually a novice witch practicing the dark arts in an old mill that has a terrible demonic history. So, of course, she's going to be seriously tormented mentally, emotionally, psychologically, and that's what it's all about.
So you have a book coming out on the 28th called Hidden Company.
Yes.
And what's that book about?
Okay, this is a slightly new tangent for me to take. It's obviously a psychological thriller. It's set in a Victorian asylum in the middle of Wales. So again, I'm coming back to my mental health background, but this is when asylums were real asylums, and it was. She has a pretty horrific time. Juxtaposed with that is a 41-year-old who, modern day, moves into the gatehouse to what was the old asylum. She is a spiritual medium, but she doesn't want to be. She's frightened of it. She's terrified of it. But of course, she's really at the end of the road with it and finds that she has no option but to uncover what happened to these poor girls in this asylum. I've also really explored the supernatural force known as the Fae. Fairies. Well, I think people think fairy stories are fairy stories, but the Fae, actually, when you talk to traditional witches, are a supernatural force that can be pretty evil, but can also give you very, very clear and profound insights, and so people do work with them. So one of the characters that I've got in that is a girl who practices witchcraft, and we look at the Fae, and she also practices necromancy, which is something I've never looked at before.
What's necromancy?
That's actually quite different from erasing spirits, as in talking to spirits. Necromancy is where you actually raise a person from the dead.
Okay.
So they take the graveyard dirt. I have from my trusted witch Ravenwood. I have from her really very, very old hexes and very, very old conjurings from her own grimoire, if you like, and she has told me exactly how the necromancy would be done and how it would be experienced and what the risks are. So we incorporate that as well.
You've mentioned this witch person a few times.
Yes.
Can you tell us a bit more about that relationship with her, who she is and kind of what that's about?
Yeah, definitely. Ravenwood is credited in the last 3 books. She's a traditional witch based in North America, Wisconsin. And she's been practicing witchcraft since she was 13. She's now the same age as me. She's in her 50s. And she has really opened up my eyes in terms of what it's all about and how it works and what the risks are. And her knowledge is profound. So she's helped me, really helped me a lot with exactly what herbs are used, what incenses are used, what Latin chants are used, how they really work with the dark side, if you like, and what they believe in. And walking, I didn't realise, but sort of walking widdershins and renouncing the church is not renouncing God, it's renouncing all that we've been taught for the last 2,000 years.
Yes.
Because traditional witchcraft goes back tens of thousands of years. So it's renouncing all that's taught by the Roman Catholic Church in particular, which, once you get past that, you realise the devil is not as depicted by the Roman Catholic Church as what they've shown us the devil looks like. In actual fact, they believe in positive and negative, they believe in light and dark, and they believe in also working with gods of the darkness as well as, as well as the light. So it's very, very interesting, and she's helped me so much.
Fascinating. And are you going to have a launch party for this new book?
Yep. All being well, because I'm moving house and I'm not quite sure what the date's going to be, but all being well, I'll have a launch party on Friday the 28th.
What's that going to involve, the launch party?
It's on Facebook. So it's an event created on Facebook. So I'm Sarah England Author on Facebook. And everyone be invited. What happens is I do some samples, some excerpts from the book. We have some competitions, so some people will win some signed copies, and it's just lots of competitions, lots of insight into how it was written, what it's about, where it's set. People can ask questions, and I'll get guest authors in. I might sort of do a live YouTube reading, that kind of thing, and it's just to let everyone know it's out there. Brilliant.
Sounds really interesting. Sounds like quite fun, and to go between Christmas and New Year's as well, to have a bit to break up all the merriment.
Yes, let's break the merriment up and give
with more merriment. I mean, and your book covers are really cool.
Yeah, aren't they?
They are. Do you have a book cover designer?
Yes.
Does them for you? What's the process of working with them?
It's a lady called Gina Dickerson. Rose Wolf Design. She's one of the author's Reach girls. She has her own books, which are on the paranormal. But she is just fantastic with cover designs. So she's also a mind reader. So I'll tell her what I want.
But literally or kind of figuratively?
I don't know, just spookily. Spookily is Gina, spooky. So I tell her what I want, what colours, what fonts, what the book's about, and she sends back and forth images. She overlays hundreds of images till we get exactly what I want. Yeah. And then we do that. But the last one, Hidden Company, the little creature on the front, is actually a resin creature created by the artist, the US artist, Scott Radker. Wow. So Scott Radker now is quite famous, up-and-coming artist, and he creates these little resin creatures. That one's called Kim. I've got a picture of her on my wall. She's a little witch. And he very, very kindly allowed me to use that. And then Gina, using her magic, incorporated it into a lovely blue ethereal, because the book's set in the Welsh forests. So she's created a lovely ethereal cover for that. So it's a collaboration between those two.
And I always like to ask authors this, because it's always quite interesting and quite humorous. What is the most ridiculous customer review you've ever received on Amazon?
Oh God, I wish you'd done. I've got loads of those. I could have had a look.
What's off the top of your head? Can you think of one that's useful you've read and thought, dear God?
Can I give you two?
Go for it. Yeah.
All right. One said, "I've just downloaded this. I haven't read it yet. 1 star."
Oh God.
Another one who'd read the trilogy and then bought the album, which says this is a couple buying Tanner's Dell. Her review, 1 star, was, "I'm sick of Tanner's Dell."
Why read it? Oh, there are just some idiots out there, aren't there?
No. There are loads actually, but
the one where they said they hadn't read it, did you manage to get that removed?
No.
Of interest? No.
And I've tried. There's quite a few. Yeah, there are quite a few like that. I couldn't download this.
I've had ones like that before, but Amazon are pretty good at getting rid of them.
No, it wouldn't get rid of it.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, but I suppose anyone who looks through the customer reviews and sees that will take it as it's worth.
Yeah.
God. And this is, it just frustrates me that your livelihood eating is dependent upon these customer reviews. That's right.
It is my income, and I think, I've spent 7 or 8 months researching and writing and drafting 3-4 times, editing. I've paid for everything. I get it out there, and sometimes on the first day, I can't believe what I've just read. This is drivel 1 star, and then I'll get 100. 5 stars, fantastic. Yeah. Please don't ever give up. I absolutely loved it. And then you'll get another one saying, haven't read it yet, 1 star.
So all those 5 stars are brilliant, but then get that 1 star makes you want to quit everything then, just for 2 minutes.
And some of them are quite nasty. And some of them I've actually had nearly 2 pages worth of critique.
Yes.
That have absolutely pulled it apart.
I had someone who said they deleted it off their Kindle in disgust. Just imagine someone pressing that delete button on their Kindle screen with lots of anger in their pointing.
Yeah. But some people have actually pulled it all apart in terms of the plot, the characters, everything. Just completely decimated it.
I had one of my characters was looking at a male character was looking at the bum of a female character he fancied, and I got called a chauvinist and a sexist. I mean, doesn't a woman look at a guy's bum? I mean, it's just.
It just
happen. Despair.
Yes, it does.
But I mean, first of all, it's like I got the Sick of the Sensitives book coming out in January. It's like someone commenting on that and saying I'm sick of the Sensitives. Yeah. Why have you read it then?
I know,
Why
exactly.
have you bought it?
Exactly. It's the wrong book for you.
It's bizarre. Right. Where can people find you then if they want to find you online? Find out more about you.
Everywhere. I've got a website designed by Gina, so it's quite neat. That's sarahenglandauthor.co.uk. I'm obviously on Amazon. There's Facebook, which is Sarah England Author, so facebook.com, Sarah England Author. There's Twitter, which is Sarah England 16. I'm everywhere, really.
You're the 16th Sarah England to be on Twitter.
No, I don't think so. It's just my birthday.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Right, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, Sarah. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks.
So there we have it. That was my interview with Sarah England. It's a fascinating interview. It's really lovely to speak to Sarah here about some of her influences and things that have helped with her book. Her book is out just after Christmas, I think, so make sure you have a look at that. Next episode, we are going to have Caroline Clark, and I'm going to change it now, the format of the show. Instead of doing each interview in 2 parts, 2 times a month, I'm going to make it monthly podcast and do the whole thing in one. So the first Friday of every month, so the first Friday of January, you'll get Caroline Clark's interview, which is one to look forward to. For now, I want to wish you a very happy Christmas. Hope that it's very spooky. I hope that you get all the horror movies you asked for and the horror books you wished. And until next year, good day.